Shout out to the sponsors of the podcast, MonarchToken.io, the complete crypto solution. Monarch Wallet is now available for Android, iOS, and desktop devices today. Do you want to learn how to mine crypto? Well, all you have to do is visit cryptomining.tools for profitable crypto mining information today. The Divi Project, that is diviproject.org, your one-click solution for staking and masternodes. Earn cryptocurrency using social media platforms like Somee.social, SOMEE.social, New Era Social Media. Get paid to write reviews, like reviews, comment on reviews. Visit bravocoin.com and get paid to review. Available for Android and iOS devices. bravocoin.com. CoinFlip, the world's best Bitcoin ATM. Better service, better fees. Better visit coinflip.tech today. All right, man, we're live, bro. How goes it? Bitcoin Ben in the house.
Oh, man, it goes good, my brother. How you doing today? How you doing?
I'm good, man. As an introvert, I am honestly enjoying this mandatory isolation. It's been nice to be an introvert during these times. It's just like, yeah, this is just a regular day for me. So it's Uber Eats is still working. Man, the world is normal. How you been holding up during all this?
Oh man, I'm doing all right. I while the rest of the world may be, like quarantining themselves, I'm like living my regular life as like much as other than like having restaurants that I can't like walk into.
Right.
Uh, I'm going outside. I don't worry about like 6 feet away or any. I Hey, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna friggin' die.
You're probably
I'm
gonna
actually
die on the
going
way
out
to the
late.
restaurant rather likely than at it. Oh, we got a $5 Canadian super chat from DJ Me
Yeah,
Popsicle. Shout out to that, bro. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. And so yeah, as you guys can see, I'll move it over here though. I don't know if you saw this, Ben, but there's like a Bitcoin version of super chatting. It's called One Up Coin, and people can send Bitcoin, Litecoin, or even XRP, and they can get the same overlay. Like it shouts them out on the screen and everything, just like YouTube super chat. Except I get the entire tip. YouTube doesn't take 30% of it.
oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely need that link. Hey, and uh, everybody, super chat the shit out of Kim because we're trying to collect enough money once this is all over. We're gonna need a lot of shampoo for old homeboy here.
I'm telling Ben before we went live, I haven't brushed it. I washed it maybe once with some shampoo, but everybody is shaving their head. I'm going the opposite direction where I'm just not touching it. So everyone's going to be bald when it comes to self isolation being over and quarantine being over, and everyone's going to be out there with their shaved quarantine heads because cabin fever, and I'm going to have that Tarzan look. So.
Oh, dude, you get all the fucking girls. They'll be like, damn, a dude with hair.
Yeah, exactly. You get it, man. So let's. There's a few topics I wanted to make sure we touched on, and I want to kick off things with, I guess one of your most recent videos where you were talking about China and Bitcoin and everything, and I wanted to see what your thoughts are on, where an economic or a medical crisis like this pandemic can turn into a financial crisis, and where that could align with the Bitcoin halving or even any financial infrastructures. Look what happened with oil recently. Nobody was predicting that. Nobody, Peter Schiff, nobody was out there saying oil's going to dump soon, short oil. Nobody was talking about it until it happened. Is there any other unprecedented events that you think may be correlated to this perfect storm? Where we have this tornado and this hurricane kind of colliding, where it's medical and financial crises, and a bunch of other financial events all happening at once.
Oh yeah, brother. Well, let's say the hurricane showed up yesterday, and the tornado is going to show up here soon because the tornado is the gold and silver derivative market. And that's the other half of this equation that actually ties in with the rest of the economy. And what I mean when I say that is what really collapsed yesterday wasn't really the price of real oil, it was the price of the derivatives of oil.
Right,
That's
and
what
if you
collapsed.
guys are watching this, go check out Tone Vay's video yesterday. He broke it down very well. If
Yes.
you're feeling like this is some kind of mistake or glitch in the matrix, somehow Tone makes it all make sense in a very short video. In retrospect. So yeah, you're right. It's not actual oil. It's the future sales for the month of May that have no one's gonna, who's the heck's ordering it, who's gonna deliver it, and like who's gonna buy it and use it. And I was saying this on a previous podcast. Now is the best time to protest your local gas station and just not buy gas. People, since I was 5 years old, I can remember people saying we should just not buy gas for one day. That'll show them. Look at how you're showing them now. Look what they're doing. They're paying you to take the shit they've been upcharging you for no reason the whole time.
People are going to see gas prices next month that we haven't seen since the 1950s. I mean, literally. And because the issue with the futures market is that it is an absolute delivery market. If you hold a future, you and you don't sell it, whoever owns that future when it closes, they have to take the delivery. Problem is, there's no place to put it anymore. All of the tankers that were available for lease, there's websites you can go to. There's none available. You can't rent a tanker to hold this oil. So Trump, whether you like Trump or not, he was smart as shit yesterday whenever he announced, "Hey, I'm we're going to buy 75 million barrels of oil and put it in our reserves." So basically, he just actually got oil for free, and they actually paid America to hold it.
Right.
It's that's the world we're living in, and this will eventually hit the cryptocurrency market. And here's how. The problem with the futures market is that you don't just have producers and suppliers in that market. You have people playing that market because of the volatility. You have the traders, and those whales that are trading the derivatives market for years have been able to control the price using these futures, using the derivatives. And now that the demand has actually been cut in half globally, and also they don't have any place to put it. These futures, there's no exit. There's there's no one out there who uses oil that's looking to buy it. They've got tons. They've got literally oil coming out of their ass.
Yeah, I mean they're burning it just so they can stop, holding it. They're just trying to get rid of it. And I feel like this could correlate to an interesting correlation to the petrodollar, to the U.S. dollar coming very soon, where we're gonna have, you know, banks having more cash on hand. You know, because I mean, you know, they just got a shit ton of money from the government, and in my opinion, the banks are mishandling it. I think they ended up giving some college like $5 million. Like, just give that to the damn students. How's this going to help? You know, during a pandemic, to give a college $5 million. You know.
And and actually, if you have been paying attention to the Treasury Department and who they're hiring lately, who they're bringing on, Trump's going to launch, like or hate Trump, Trump is going to launch a wallet out of the Treasury Department.
I thought he was going to do that with the stimulus, you know, where you'd have to
He
download a
is.
specific wallet or app and then maybe use your social security number as the 2FA, go through the same IRS tax information that you would go through to either do a no file or file if you were claiming whatever. You can do a no file, which I did. I haven't done my taxes since the word Bitcoin became a word in my vocabulary. But then you tell me I'm going to get $1,200 that I could use to buy more crypto with. Yeah, sure, I'll fill out your form.
Yeah, it's the Trump had. If you understand Trump's way of thinking, I literally, this has actually taken me 6.5 months to do this. I went backwards in Trump's tweets. If you read Trump's tweets, and I mean years, Twitter is like your public opinion actual diary. That's what Twitter is. If I read your feed, I can learn your personality, right, easily, because it's what you're putting out that you care about at whatever time. It's like your diary.
Right.
Well,
It's an open journal, yeah.
right. So I read Trump's tweets all the way back to when he started tweeting. Trump, this is what Trump's doing, and this is how he does it. Right? Trump always works in a phase. If you read his book, he always works in phases. The initial one is pointing out the problem or the deal, laying out what's the issue. Is it a problem or is it a deal? With Trump, he knew, because Trump wants to hand out money to the people. Now, he also wants to prop up small business. He ain't so much worried about the big business guys. Those aren't his friends. So what Trump did with this whole thing is, all right, we're gonna hand out $1,200 to every single taxpayer that qualifies. He knew it would be a shit show.
Yeah, that's a controversial. The taxpayer part instead of just saying citizen. Whew, that was a nice one. That was a great troll.
Yeah, oh, he trolls people without them even realizing they're being trolled.
Facts.
He's like the king of trolling.
He really is, though. It's very subliminal.
Yeah, and that's how Trump actually talks. And that's how he tweets. If what you want to do when you read one of Trump's tweets, or read or listen to him talk, if you want to figure out what he's really trying to say, you find either the word in the sentence that doesn't quite match the sentence, or the sentence in the paragraph that doesn't quite match the paragraph. And that's what he's actually trying to say. He's very, there's a technique, an old military technique that is, that's encrypting your message inside of an overlaying message. It originated over radio and broadcast with a woman named Tokyo Rose. Tokyo Rose was a radio lady during the during World War II. All right. And what her job was to relay messages to certain troop regiments at certain times in her daily broadcast. And there would be trigger words and announcement words in her sentences. And that's how they would uncode what she was really telling them. And that technique was actually taught to Trump from Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon and Trump were actually close friends. And there's a lot about Trump that people don't know. And so what Trump did was he knew it'd be a shit show. What Trump always does with every deal or every problem, he brings the problem or the deal to the surface, lets it play out or lets people read the deal, and then he actually points at the fuck up. He points at the shit show for the reason to implement what he really originally wanted to implement. It's another sneaky like problem action solution, except Trump lets the problem naturally occur. And he's like, wow, we really want to get you guys this money, but look at all this bureaucracy. Look at these banks. Look at, fucking Bank of America adding questions that the Federal Treasury Department did not include in the regulations that was holding up the payment. So he actually points out the problem and he points out the bad actors in the problem. And then Trump brings out the solution. The solution is the USA wallet. I guarantee
right.
it.
The Federal Reserve announced about a year ago now that they were coming out with Fed Now, which was their direct answer to cryptocurrencies and digital dollars, things like stable coins. As soon as Gemini dollar kind of became a trending topic, the Federal Reserve was like, we can do that too. And I wanted to see what your thoughts are on this. Potentially, the U.S. dollar battling it out with Bitcoin, where this thing that Trump potentially could be doing is bad for Bitcoin, because China is that Bitcoin's like their biggest threat to the US dollar, especially looking at the petro value to oil right now and everything else kind of correlating very well. Like it seems almost strategically orchestrated at this point, like a very weird game of Risk, like I feel like a pawn in a game of Risk right now. But where do you see this being like a positive or negative outcome for Bitcoin here in the US moving forward with a government issued digital dollar wallet?
This is nothing but positive for Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying Bitcoin won't go down, because like I said, gold and silver is going to have the exact same thing happen to it that just happened to oil, where the price of gold and silver are going to plummet on the futures market, not on the physical market. Right now, you can't buy any silver. You go down to your local dealer, you aren't actually paying like 15 or $16 an ounce. You're well into the 20s right now in the physical market. So the realistic price of silver is in the mid 20s, around $24, $25 an ounce. The futures market is what's actually saying, it's only worth 17, like $16 an ounce. No, that's 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 on the freaking COMEX market. The COMEX market is exactly the same market structure that the oil futures were in yesterday. And with the supply of silver, we're reaching a point in gold where they're not going to be able to deliver on these contracts at the end of the trading month.
And this is why we got fucking Wall Street buying almost 500,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah. And wait till I get to Bitcoin. When I explain what's going to happen with Bitcoin, it absolutely makes sense, and you see it like that. And this is why people who I talk to, once I get done consulting, they FOMO the shit into Bitcoin because it makes sense. Because what's going to happen with silver and gold is the futures are going to have a failure to deliver. For silver, it's going to be a big deal because manufacturing, there's a lot of silver used in manufacturing. All right. Now, there's a balance there that right now, there's not a whole lot of manufacturing going on. So that slam is not going to be as hard as it was in oil. They're going to slam the price low because they're going to try and sell the futures as soon as possible so they don't have to be on the hook to deliver or receive delivery of the silver. Because even if they can technically deliver the silver, the people that are playing the futures market, most of them are traders. They're not physical, we want some fucking silver dropped off at our plant people.
You think we could see some conversions to that physical mentality there? Where it's not your stocks, it's not your oil, or not your futures, it's not your stocks. I feel like that could be more comparable.
Yeah, the oil, like I said, was a hurricane. The silver is going to be the tornado, and the Bitcoin is going to be the other side of the earth where it's sunny and everybody's
Bitcoin's the
drinking
rainbow.
beer.
I love it.
Exactly. It's literally, now mind you, the futures, which is the exchanges in cryptos, right? That's Coinbase, that's Kraken, that's any exchange that doesn't hold 1-to-1. They call it the float, right? Where you hop on Coinbase, you actually buy $1,000 worth of Litecoin. Well, they have a mathematical calculation and a account history of if you really pull off your coins. If you buy but you never pull them off, they'll put you in the float area where they don't really have to go out and buy the Litecoin.
Right, exactly.
And that's why if you have just been accumulating on Coinbase and you got, hypothetically, let's say you got 100 Litecoin on Coinbase, but you've never moved it off Coinbase. You click that button and try and move that Litecoin off of Coinbase and see how long they go. Yeah, we'll have that to you in 3 days.
Right, or they'll tell you there's an issue with your limit at that moment, or it'll crash for some
Um,
random reason.
Man, we'd like
Yeah.
to help you, but damn it, we're having an upgrade just on your account.
How do we
You
get
know,
these
it's it.
anarchists that got into crypto, into Bitcoin, into Litecoin and everything that used to, rah rah audit the Federal Reserve to rah rah audit Coinbase and all these centralized custodial services that are, selling counterfeit currencies because they don't technically have it to offer it to you.
Well, it's
Oh, thank you for the
the
super chat, Lisa. Litecoin Lisa, appreciate it. Yeah, I need better Wi-Fi. I just saw that. And Rick Costa, thank you very much. Stream is good now. Wi-Fi all caught up. The audio's been great the whole time, Ben. Just the video sometimes will bug out because of the internet. But everybody in the country's online right now. Nobody's got work
oh
or
yeah,
school or
yeah, no doubt. Everybody is Netflixing and chilling.
yeah, man. I told some people, expect 9 months from now a bunch of babies to be named Corona, COVID, vaccine.
Yeah, CC.
Yeah, dude. All these buzzwords of today are gonna be baby names of tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt. But I guarantee there's a lot of smacking and tickling going on.
So yeah, as you were
So,
saying, Ben. Sorry.
oh no, that's all right. It's there are a group of us, you know, revolutionaries that um, we don't just want to make money. We want to change the system. You know, that's um, that's what the cyberpunk movement was about that gave birth to actual Bitcoin. Now, there was help from, I'll say it like this, there was either help from government agencies in creating Bitcoin or the cyberpunks used military technology to create Bitcoin. One or the other. Either way you go, the SHA 256 was created by the military and another agency that goes by the name of friggin' DARPA.
Yeah,
Now,
the internet
DARPA,
itself is a government creation. So
yeah, it's this has all actually been a a planned rollout of proven technology that was timely put out to the general public at the appropriate time. It's it's what we've always seen. Is I can remember days like back in the 90s where there was a rumor about this jet that was invisible to radar. People had seen it. It was shaped like a triangle. Well,
yeah, I remember seeing that growing up as a kid. It was a spaceship on the news and stuff for like years. People didn't know what it was. It was
right. And then they rolled it out. Now every 4th of July, that's the big triangle that flies over your fucking head and everyone applauds. You know, that's what the government does is they create technology, and then when the general public is once they've proven it and it's right as rain, they leak it or they announce it to the public. That's what they did with the internet. That's what they did with I can't remember the name of that fucking jet. The stealth friggin' bomber. That's what the triangle was. It was this stealth bomber that all the people out in Arizona had pictures of. flying triangle, is this a government space program? Well, yeah, it is.
Right, they do that with movies, media, music, set the
Yep.
narrative, the agenda the same way, and it's actually, and it's funny. I've seen a lot of memes going around where like they really messed up by giving all the sheep way too much time, and like all the sheep are kind of like waking up because like they have nothing but time now to like go down these rabbit holes and kind of like don't right before isolation and quarantine. That's just a weak cough, not corona. Um, right before the isolation and lockdown and everything became like a topic, right? Like Trump was still in the news saying this is nothing, don't worry about it, kind of. Netflix, every movie recommended was like pandemic, virus, contagion, end of the world. They were setting the narrative. Like, here, get comfortable with this through media, through fantasy, because it's about to become reality. And this is how we're going to desensitize you to it very slowly.
Exactly.
It's
And
almost like digital fluoride.
yeah, it's that's that's how God, well, that's how progressive government works. It's always been the same formula. You have to program the general public for the next progression.
Yeah, we used to call it propaganda. Now we just call it programming, which has now just become media, which is just entertainment.
Yeah. And oh, what's going to come with Bitcoin? All right, right now, what happened yesterday is that was the landmine that destroyed the petrodollar. Right? The petrodollar, what happened yesterday was the announcement that the petrodollar or any currency cannot be linked solely with a a production manipulatable commodity, because this is why Bitcoin is going to be so huge in the future, because productivity is a form of manipulation. Oil, if the oil price goes too high, they just produce a little bit more oil, drop that price down. If it goes too low, they don't make as much. They're manipulating it at the supply. Well, with Bitcoin, the supply is fixed and it's programmed. It is known. It is the only adjustment to the supply is every 2 weeks it adjusts it, its mining difficulty so that it holds at the 10-minute block time. You, how many barrels of oil exist right now?
I don't know if it's
I don't know.
countable.
Right. How many ounces of gold exist right now?
I'm not sure if it's countable.
Right. How many Bitcoin exist at this moment?
About 17,100,000, probably down to a sat somewhere. You can pretty much narrow it down exactly.
If you look at the blockchain, you, I can tell you the number in existence at this very second.
Right.
Right? That is what you call an absolute, perfectly programmed and decentralized currency backing commodity, because there is no way to manipulate the production of it.
No,
You can't do it.
you contribute or you can compete spending a hell of a lot more than you would cause any damage doing.
Right.
It would be like
But
spending $1 trillion on a firecracker.
right. And the idea of putting $1 trillion into Bitcoin, every every time you pushed that price up, you would make the price it would cost you to manipulate it go up. Because as you pushed it up, you need more to manipulate it.
Well, isn't this what
And
they created the Bitcoin futures for, though? This is exactly what happened when Bitcoin was at 20,000. The futures kind of caused this.
yeah, the futures are what caused the drop because, and this is what we're going to go through here in a little while with Bitcoin, because cryptocurrencies are going to go through exactly what oil just went through and exactly what uh, silver and gold are going through, except with cryptos, it's different because the transaction is the delivery. You the only things that are going to fail and go under are the exchanges, not the people who hold Bitcoin. And there's enough plumbing inside cryptos that we can exchange with each other on the blockchain without the need of an exchange.
Right. But right now,
Right?
currently, they hold a lot of power. When exchanges decide to collude and flex that power, whether it be when one exchange gets hacked and the other exchange notices that Bitcoin entering their circulation and they can kind of confiscate it and send it back to the rightful owner, or, maybe collude it, which is my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, of course, but like I worry about a mass colluded exit where these exchanges exit with tons of crypto, and what that could do to the market. Because right now, I mean, I think it's uh, 30 to 40% of all Litecoin. Coinbase is custodian of it. That's pretty centralized, and that worries me.
And also, that shows the stupidity of most of the people on Coinbase.
And it reflects in other coins too, like Dash. Like 1% of all the transactions actually use the privacy option. So, like, yeah,
Yeah,
just because you have something that's really great, really amazing, you can do amazing, doesn't mean dumb people will do smart things with it.
yeah, it's crypto is the ultimate. You're free to be really stupid environment, because and the only people that are going to get hurt in this, in the crypto, and if you look, the key on how close we are on this is how much tether is sitting on exchanges, just sitting there. They've printed it and it's just sitting on exchanges because there is going to be a dump and it is going to be a coordinated dump.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to scare the shit out of every stupid person in cryptos because they're going to look at the dollar value on a screen and they're going to think, oh no, I'm losing money. When in reality, what you should be looking at is not your dollar value. Is do you hold the same fucking Bitcoin that you held 5 minutes ago? It's really going to be the uh, I own one Bitcoin. Price just dropped $4,000. I still own one Bitcoin. That's the smart people. The dumb people are going to be the people that, just like in oil, held the futures. they held their money on the futures exchange instead of holding their asset in their custody. The people who owned oil yesterday and had it their at their location, they didn't lose any money.
Right. If they wait another month, if
Right.
they hodl, they didn't lose.
Yeah. I still got the same oil I had 5 minutes ago. They could give two shits what happened on the derivatives exchange, because that's all and a bit another huge key on how soon this is going to happen. Right? Love or hate the exchange, friggin' Binance. Right? Love it or hate it. Love or hate the CEO.
I'm on the love side, just to put that out there. I don't think you're on the same side as me. That's why I wanted to mention.
No. They're smart. He's smart, but you also have to accept that there's other people. He's only the front man.
Right.
He's like the Trump of Binance.
Exactly.
All right. The people behind him, that's China government. China runs Binance.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The fact that Binance just purchased CoinMarketCap.
For like $400 million.
Oh, that's a drop in the bucket to what they're going to fucking make when this shit goes nuts.
Yeah, one ICO is going to pay that to get listed.
No, just their Bitcoin. Because remember, as much trouble as China has given Bitcoin, they've let the miners run.
Oh yeah, I've been telling people don't realize, Bitcoin isn't something that Chinese want to hodl, man. That's an export to them. That's their Federal Reserve, That's the US has the Federal Reserve and the petrodollar, and China has almost 70% mining dominance and a huge world global export of Bitcoin.
Yep. And if the US, which I have sneaking suspicions that Trump has been mining friggin' Bitcoin since at least, I think longer, maybe at least late last year, because I had a meetup in Utah a while back. Right, I had a guy when I was driving out there who wanted to meet up with me. He said he worked at the NSA facility out in Utah. And he's like, look, I don't know anything specifically. He's like, but the amount of energy that the NSA plant is now using, it jumped up like 40% in 1 month. And it's the same month that the hash rate on Bitcoin went fucking crazy.
Well, what about Trump's negative and only time ever mentioning Bitcoin tweet about how it is a detriment to the U.S. economy?
If the U.S. economy doesn't participate, you're damn right it is. Because, see, Trump, now remember, Trump, pay attention to his words. Trump said, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin. He used the word fan. Right? That doesn't mean that he doesn't understand Bitcoin. Trump is America first. Trump is USA dollar, rah, rah, rah. But right, we hold a ton of yen. We hold a ton of pesos. We hold a ton of all these different currencies. Not because we value them, it's because other countries value them. You don't hold something in reserve because you value it. Here's a great example. I used it this morning. Right, in your wallet, most people or some people, they have cash and they have credit. Right, those are your reserves. Right, so if you go to a gas station here in Missouri, if you're willing to pay cash, the gas costs you less. So if you're willing, if there is a purchase incentive to pay with cash and it's worth it to you, you'll pay with cash because you get a discount from the gas station because they don't have to pay the fees to the credit card company.
Yeah, I've seen this extend actually recently into like my local Wawa gas station. They came out with their own debit or gift card. It's a gas station gift card, and if you preload that gift card and use that to get your gas, you actually get, instead of them getting charged like 5% from American Express, they give you 5% because they're using their own in-house ledger for all the transactions. So it doesn't matter which gas station you go to, the money's always been in-house. They just move it from one ledger to another, and it saves them a hell of a lot on the transactions with you topping up your card.
Exactly. Now, let's take that logic and put it into a global currency system. Trump knows because he's already seen Russia actually purchase oil from Venezuela using Bitcoin. So he's like, all right. So my competition values this. That is what you put in your reserves as a country, not because you plan on using it in your country. It's because trade,
Right.
when there's, and as this grows, Trump will have to hold Bitcoin in reserves when he gets, and he'll want to. America will want to.
Well, yeah, China will incentivize it. I mean, China will say, hey, we want Bitcoin. We'll give you 20% off all your freights delivered to the harbor in New York City, but just pay with it with Bitcoin. All right, cool. No problem. We save a lot of money. This is the best thing for the country. We're saving so much on imports.
If you if if you understand microeconomics, then you understand that we've already seen this put in practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's called lolly. All right, lolly is a micro example of the macro that we're talking about.
Yep.
Is hey, come shop at Walmart and we'll give you a discount as a rebate in Bitcoin, right? There's a new
Fold. Have you used Fold yet? Where you can actually spend your Bitcoin even using
Yeah.
Lightning Channel transactions to buy like Domino's pizza?
yeah,
And you get crypto back for doing it.
yeah. It's now think about this. This is the part of the conversation when I do my consulting that the people go fucking crazy and FOMO into Bitcoin. Is now imagine that. Imagine that you have Russia buying oil from
I'm gonna
Venezuela.
soak it in.
Soak it in, brother. FOMO the shit. The incentive for Russia to purchase Venezuelan oil was Venezuela lowered the price of the oil and Russia didn't have to pay the SWIFT exchange fees
Right.
of purchasing that oil. So Russia saved money and Venezuela sold their product at an acceptable price. If you don't think Indonesia, China, fucking North Korea, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, every country that's ever been butt fucked by America with the petrodollar, if you don't think that they aren't going to jump on this new way to pay a bill globally, you've lost your fucking mind. Because number one, Trump doesn't give a shit. Trump wants to nationalize the currency. That's what he's doing with the Federal Reserve. He's pulling the Federal Reserve, and with this emergency act that he just brought in, which gives him a fuck ton of authority, he is basically now the Abraham Lincoln of our generation. And let me explain that. Abraham Lincoln, right before the Civil War, he enacted emergency powers that are in the Constitution that grants the president emergency powers in case of a national war or like an emergency. Trump is implementing those, and he's absorbing the Federal Reserve into the Treasury so he can relaunch, just like JFK did about a month or two before he got his head blown off. Like JFK launched what was called the Kennedy dollar, which was a silver certificate that was backed. Kennedy instructed the Treasury to purchase silver and issue the Kennedy's silver certificate. 2.5 months later, or yes, he got his head blown off.
Yeah, I mean that would fuck everything up if you went to the gas station. It was $5 for to fill your tank, or one Kennedy buck to fill your tank. They can't have that kind of competition.
Right. And what was the first order that Lyndon B. Johnson squashed? The Kennedy dollar.
Oh shit.
As soon as literally,
that's not subtle at all.
No, 1 week after he was sworn in on the plane, he canceled the executive order to create the Kennedy dollar, then instructed the Treasury to bring in, request, and hand out silver for quit printing, hand out the silver, and then squash the whole program.
Thanks for the super chat, Amina. Happy 420. I appreciate it. Now, this kind of makes me think of when they did the gold audit and went door to door asking how much gold everybody had, and said, it's for your own good. We want to know how much protection to send your way in case shit hits the proverbial fan on land. And everybody said, well, braggingly, thinking it would get them more security, here's how much gold I have. And then, a year later, they went door to door and said, give it to me or treason. And they completely manipulated the value of the gold market there. But how is this something that, I see correlating to Bitcoin, and I'm wondering if you see too, where these custodial services are going to get swept, much like with what happened in Greece, where we hear Andreas Antonopoulos speak about. It's like you're going to go to log into Coinbase, and they're going to be like, well, the government needed 30% or 40% or 60% of everybody's. They took it from this guy's bank account, and they took it from your Coinbase account. Where, like, do you see that potentially happening here in the U.S., where they make claim for our gold again? Our digital gold?
I don't see that happening because that's not Trump's philosophy. Trump's goal is to eliminate the Federal Reserve. That has been his goal this whole time. Because if you read his past tweets, which I did, Trump has laid out over the last, I think, 12, like 11 years that he's been on Twitter, the whole thing. He's explained how to destroy the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, but the missing link, or like the anomaly I see here is the what is it? We're almost at like $24 trillion in debt, to the World Bank. So like, how are we going to patch that up, where without using the wealth of the nation, doing a net sweep, paying it off, and kind of going from a fresh and a new, because we can't just forget about the $24 trillion and go on.
Yeah. Well, this is how he's going to do it. He's actually going to do it exactly like Abraham Lincoln was going to do it. Is you use emergency powers. You bring in the control of the federal bank, because there was a federal bank in existence with Abraham Lincoln, right? So you use the emergency powers, you bring in the federal bank, and then you start purchasing assets and liabilities. You monetize all of the debt into actual currency. Now,
Yeah, but we don't own all our own debt. Foreign governments actually own a large percentage of our debt that we have to buy back at a fucking premium. So the debt that we see reflected on that ticker, that isn't actually the real debt number, because there's a bigger number hidden behind it, which is the percentage to buy it back.
That's why Trump created the tariff structure. This has all been planned out, right? America's federal government, when America was created, on the Revolutionary War.
I think established would be the word.
Right, established. What the federal government ran on was tariffs. There was no income tax. There was no federal land tax. None of that existed. The only thing that funded the federal government was the tariff tax. All right. Now, what that does is it fiscally ties the federal government to the productivity of the nation. Right? If the nation is producing more value, the federal government makes more money. If it produces less value, the federal government loses money. That's how you balance out the size of government in accordance with the reality of the lives of the people in the country. If the country is more productive, the citizens' lives are improving, right? If the government makes laws that makes the country less productive, i.e. the general population less happy, less rich, then the tariff structure regulates the amount of income that the federal government can bring in, because it's all actually based on productivity of the economy in the global trade tariff cost. And that structure works perfect, worked for years. It's why America, this is why they never teach you American history from about 1806 to about 1859. They never really teach you that block of history, because those years, America just exploded. I mean, you talk about absolutely That's why we had so much immigration, because people were like, wait, you owned your own labor, you own your own property, you you weren't taxed. No, the only taxes you had were local taxes, and those local taxes reflected the culture of the local community. If you want to be a communist place, America's system will let you be communist. In California, super liberal. They got high taxes, they got all this stuff. Well, in America's structure, original structure, go crazy, California. Go ahead, be as socialist or communist or whatever. But when they introduced the Federal Reserve and they introduced fiat currency and they introduced national labor taxes, is when California could request from the federal government that every other state nationalize programs so California could have their liberalism and have Montana pay for it. And that's the difference between conservatism, which has been, that word has been like given a bad name, and progressivism. Progressivism is power up here at the federal level. Actually, progressivism is at the global level. So where the America First movement, the nationalists that Trump's involved with, those are nationalist capitalists. What a capitalist is it's a label that has been slapped on Austrian economics, people who work under Austrian economics. Now, progressives, they work under Keynesian economics. The difference between Austrian economics and Keynesian economics is that Keynesian economics does not have what is called a resolution ledger. That's why Keynesians love the idea of national debt. They love the idea of the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve can print money and not have a resolved ledger. That means in Keynesian economics, 1 + 1 does not have to equal 2. That's only in a Keynesian economic system can oil go negative.
Do you think blockchain and cryptocurrency could introduce a new economic model outside, or add a value to an existing one? That's something that doesn't exist yet. You know, I feel like, you know, what we're missing with the U.S. dollar would, you know, a great feature would be staking. I mean, that's basically what the banks were for. You know.
Yeah, and in the future, that will happen with the new currency, because lenders will hold their reserve and they'll lend out. Now, and I actually talked about this on my Patreon channel today. In the old days, there were 2 lenders. There was the American Bank, the National Treasury Bank. They lent money based on land. Right? Then the only other lender then like your grandpa or your brother or like a family member was pawn shops. Pawn shops in the 1800s, the number one lending facilities in America were pawn shops, also known as trading posts, right? And pawn shops required you to put up something of value, and they'd lend you a percentage actually based on their risk with you, you know, and that's how the old America worked. It kept people honest, right? It kept you honest because
Even if you
really,
weren't honest, it at least kept you accountable.
bingo, bingo, bingo. Because really, the guy at the pawn shop, he don't want to give a crap if you come back because he paid, say, $100 for something that's worth $200.
Until he goes to smelt it and finds out there's lead in there.
Right. Well, once again, here we go. We bring in Bitcoin. Unlike oil or gold, that the old monetary system was built on. This is why, although countries may hold gold in their reserves, other countries are not going to want to get gold in global trade. They're not going to want to do it because they've got a better option. They've got Bitcoin.
Yeah, they don't need a ship sinking to the bottom of the ocean and them not getting their imports of goods, for their citizens. That's why
Right.
would you go
Plus,
back a step?
right. Plus, hey, America, do you guys have any gold in freaking Fort Knox?
If we do,
Yeah,
it's
we
not
got
ours.
it. Right. Yeah, we got it. Wink, wink, smile. Well, the people on the other side of the pond would have to trust what we said. With Bitcoin, you don't have to trust because, number one, if you want to make a trade with, like, say, Russia, once they already did this, Russia wanted to buy oil from Venezuela. Well, Venezuela wants to make sure that Russia has got the Bitcoin, right? What's your public address? Right here. Let me check the blockchain. Oh, shit. They got some money in there. And the transaction of the Bitcoin is the delivery of the Bitcoin. It's all one transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no, hey, I'll send you a contract, then we'll load this gold up on a ship, have that to you in no time, brother.
Yeah, and they're already utilizing the blockchain for the supply chain of things as well to save a bunch of money and take out that garbage in, garbage out issue of human error, where there accidentally isn't enough stuff on the ship that, somebody was expecting when it hit the port, or things to that effect are being solved with blockchain, as not just the currency transaction of paying for something, but also the supply chain of tracking the goods as well. It's actually, they're not just using Bitcoin for the contract and for the payment, but they're also using it for the shipment as well.
Yep. It's programmable money.
Yeah.
It's that anybody, like I said, when I do like my consulting, and once they get done having a conversation with me, these people are like, yeah, so what over the counter should I buy from? And that's how I've actually been able to quit my trucking job, and I do cryptos like full time now.
Yeah, I have a question in the chat about that, Ben. Do you plan on? Let me just make sure who was. That was from DJ Me Popsicle. Wants to know. Ad-libbing a little bit here. Wants to know, like, after this isolation thing, after this whole pandemic clears up, or do you plan on, or when do you plan on bringing back the Bitcoin Ben World Tour?
As soon as I can, because I know where this is going, because I know how humans react. Humans humans act either with joy or fear. Those are our action emotions. Everything else is just fluffy bullshit. Like we only do something if we want to do it or if we're scared to shit to do it. And cryptocurrency is, you got both sides. You have the people that will FOMO into crypto for greed, and you got people that will FOMO into crypto because of fear. The fear is the systems we live in now are collapsing. The fear is not the fear of missing out, it's the fear of getting fucking wiped out in the collapsing other system. I explain it like this: 95% of the world is on the Titanic. It's hit the iceberg. It's fucking going down. The people are running for the lifeboats, and there's still people in there having dinner. They don't know what's going on. They felt the shake. What was that? Oh, they did. That was 2008. 2008 until now has been the welders down in the hall trying to patch that fucking hole.
I love that. That's a perfect analogy.
All right? That's the motherfuckers trying to. We still got water coming in, boss.
I see the welders in banker suits.
Exactly. Now think of this. If you've ever looked at the construction, the blueprints of the Titanic, every hull was actually made a little bit shorter than the last one. It was actually made to sink. And people don't realize that, because what made it sink was the upright supports. The initial one was this tall. The one right next to it was this tall. The one right next to it was this tall. The only one that went to the fully top, the one that would block any more water from getting through, was the third to the last one. It was actually made to sink. Now, there's
the insurance money on that was beautiful.
Oh, well, it goes a little bit. This is where you put on your tinfoil hat. That's not really tinfoil. It's actually the hat of knowledge. When you understand who designed the Titanic, who built it, who funded it, and who insured it, and then who was on it, it all makes sense of why you would do it. Because there were a group of politically powered and very wealthy people that went down with the Titanic. And every one of them was anti-Federal Reserve. They were all invited. They didn't pay for tickets. They were invited in a group, the same group that was invited to Jekyll Island was invited on the Titanic. But the group, hang on, it gets
Jekyll
better.
Island cruise.
The group that wound up going to Jekyll Island were the people that said, oh, we can't make it. We can't make it to go on this free cruise on the Titanic. All of the ones that were negative, the federal bank, they went on the cruise. So now remember the marketing of the Titanic. Unsinkable ship. Unsinkable ship. Right. Number one, the insurance companies would have never let them legally claim that. No way in hell. You, that's uh, that's like uh, that's like actually buying a car and going, this car will never break down.
Now the uncrashable car.
Right, the uncrashable car. Right. Number one, the insurance company would have never let them do that. What if the insurance company was owned by the Rockefellers?
Right, what if it was them that was the insurance company? Why would they stop themselves?
Bingo. So,
And this was before monopolies were broken down. A lot of decompartmentalization happened a lot after a lot of this happened. I don't know if it was correlated to the Titanic or whatever, but I know after this and historical events, governments forced companies to kind of not own like their own insurance companies and shit.
yep, yep. Now, this is the nail in the coffin. Whenever they built the Titanic, they actually built a sister ship. The sister ship was named Mesopotamian, I think. The design of the Mesopotamian did not have the tiered hulls. They had solid hulls. So you build two ships, two sister ships, one of them with an engineering flaw that basically makes it easily sinkable. And the other one that you build at the same time doesn't have that flaw. No way in hell. Wouldn't happen. Now, that's like Chevy making a car on the production line, and one car has brake lines. The next one, no brake lines. You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it unless you needed that event. You needed those people eliminated. You needed to hide the murder with mass death. Because really, so many people died in that. Do you think people really read into who it was? No. They just glamorized the event and not the individuals. This global progressive movement originated at Karl Marx. Now, it actually goes before that with the Illuminati. And for those who say the Illuminati doesn't exist, read George Washington's writing when he specifically says that he's not at war with the people of Great Britain. He's at war, and he uses the word Illuminati. He writes letters, and he uses the word Illuminati hundreds of times in letters. Now, the Illuminati, those are the enlightened ones. Right? The enlightened ones originate generationally from what is called the Age of Enlightenment. Right? You have the Iron Age, you have like all these ages. Well, one of them is the Age of Enlightenment. What the Age of Enlightenment is the replacement of religion with science. That's the enlightened people, where the early scientists, the guy who had
Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton was one of the founding fathers of the Age of Enlightenment, and what they came up with. And if you read Sir Newton's, right, writings, he basically didn't say that religion wasn't right. He said we have the formula for what God cooked up the universe. We now have the formula. All science is the formula of creation. That's all science is. Science doesn't conflict religion. It just explains creation. Right? We know how atoms, electrons, protons, neutrons, which actually that's all being rearranged right now because that's a whole nother conversation. But so the Age of Enlightenment, the Illuminati, they led up to about 1860. Now, 1860 is when we had a guy named Charles Darwin write a book. The name of the book was what's that? I can't remember. Species. Damn it.
As soon as you said name of a book, I was like, I'm allergic.
Yeah, everyone knows what I'm talking about. It's where he went to the island and explained evolution. All right, he wrote a book explaining evolution.
Darwin?
Yeah, yep. He explained how environment led evolution.
Yeah, I
of
believe
creatures.
that was the Galapagos Island that was uninhabited by men for so damn long that he was able to actually follow evolution through species on the island. I could be wrong. I'm pretty big.
Yeah, no. You're absolutely right. You're look in the chat and to see if they've actually written the name of the actual book.
Anybody got the name of the book in the chat? I see you in there, Clint, somewhere. Get it?
Yeah, it's Charles Darwin, The Origins of Species, or something like that. Now, what people don't realize is the
Origin of the Species. Thank you, yes. Rick Costa. You're a man.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. But that actual book had a longer title. The real original title of that book was Origin of Species. And the preservation of the preferred races. All right. The preservation of the preferred races. When he's talking about preferred races, that is the origins of a scientific philosophy called eugenics. That's where racism comes from.
Clint Westwood just said in the chat a eugenics doctrine.
Yep, exactly. That's where racism, the term racism, comes from that book. The preferred races is that Charles Darwin wrote that races of men were genetically preferable or not preferable to the evolution of humanity. Right. So basically, Charles Darwin puts out this racist book.
The original racist book.
Yes, the original.
It wasn't even racist yet. It's crazy.
Right. Because you have to think the Age of Enlightenment, right? Prior to the Age of Enlightenment, it was the age of the Kama Sutra.
Right. So
Not
before, oh,
I'm sorry, not Kama Sutra.
I was like, damn.
The
I mean, let's do it. But okay.
that's Japan. That's something else. Yeah,
You're looking for
the
chakra?
no, no, no. The age of the Magna Carta,
Oh, got
which
you. Yeah, yeah.
meant which that's where humans regained their natural born rights. That's where natural born rights, which by the way is a great fucking movie if you ain't seen it.
So before that, it wasn't racism. I guess it was just tribalism.
Yeah, yep. It didn't matter what color you
As
were.
long as you were a part of my tribe, you were part of my tribe, bro.
Yep. And a great example of that, and I know it's just a movie, but it's absolutely attitudinal accurate was actually Dances with Wolves. The
Fucking
Indian
love that movie.
culture. Oh, dude, I dig this like a fucking shovel. I love that fucking movie. All right. The Indian tribes, they were tribal. That's where we get the name from, tribal. Right? They brought him in to their tribe because he had earned their trust. And they didn't care that he was white. Now, mind you, there were white men that they were fighting against and having issues with, but the Indian mindset was completely different. It wasn't the color of your skin, your DNA, anything like that. It was your culture, is what either they accepted your culture or they didn't. If you had an honest culture, they'd bring you into their tribe and you'd smoke the peace pipe. That's what the peace pipe represented, was the agreement. Because if you read your American Indian history, the smoke represented the soul of the
Yeah.
smoker, right?
That's
And
why
that's
they thought it was your soul leaving your body when you died in the winter. The smoke, the warmth that created smoke that left the body, they would think that's the soul leaving. So, like, smoke from the peace pipe being your soul, same representation.
yeah. And if you've ever, now my great grandmother was a full blooded Cherokee, and that woman smoked more marijuana than anybody, even more than you. I mean, she woke up in the morning and that pipe was open, lit, rolling out on the front porch.
My kind of
What?
lady.
All right. When you smoked the peace pipe, number one, you never did it outside. It was always in a teepee. Number two, you would light your peace pipe. You'd inhale it.
Okay.
And whoever
You say
you
so.
smoke, yeah, that is tobacco, officer. It's
It's legal now. It's medicinal.
exactly. That's why when you would smoke the peace pipe, whoever you're smoking it with, they'd waft that smoke out of your pipe, waft it, and they'd inhale because it was rude to let any of the soul escape.
Oh shit.
All right. They'd hand you their peace pipe. And the peace pipe, all right, when you handed it, you had to hand it a certain way so that the peace pipe was never not touching a human. You couldn't set it down. It always had, as long as it was lit, it had to be held by a human because the smoke would match the frequency of the soul of the human smoking it. That's, see, this is all tied together, right? The smoke represented the soul of the person controlling or smoking the peace pipe. That's how they, right? You've heard of smoke signals, right? That's that's how deep they were into the the meaning of smoke to Indians were fucking it's smoke was the equivalent of the iPhone.
Right.
All right.
They would use that shit to make it rain.
Right. It's how they would message their soul or their want or their prayer was with smoke. And that's how they communicated messages to each other and to their gods. Is the frequency left the body of the holy man, went into the smoke would rise up. The shape and the frequency of the smoke would communicate the message from the holy man. If you ever want your mind blown, read real history. Don't watch a movie. Learn about how and why Indians communicated. It'll blow your mind more than any sci-fi movie you can watch because it makes sense, right? Everything in the world is based on frequency, and I can prove it, right? Frequency is how we communicate with each other. And it isn't the words, it's the frequency that we feel. Here's an example. It'll prove it like this. Get on YouTube and look up words trapped in ice. And
Okay.
watch that fucking video.
My interest is tickled.
Right. What this scientist does is he takes water, right? Water is the closest, is the most sensitive physical way that this can really be examined. What he does is he takes water and he yells negative words at it.
Oh,
Like, I hate
this. Yeah, I have
Like,
seen this.
I hate you. You're stupid. You're lazy. You're a piece of crap. And he instantly freezes it using like dry ice or whatever that gas is. Right? He instantly freezes it. Then he takes another cube in the same environment and he says, I love you. You're special. You're good. Right? Freezes that instantly. When he puts the ice under a microscope, the ice that was frozen with the negative words, the crystals are sharp edges.
Yep.
It's real radical. It looks very disturbed. The ice with the positive words, smooth crystals. It's all frequency.
Yeah, a good experiment you can do at home is buy 2 plants from your local Home Depot or Walmart and put them in different rooms and play like positive music for one plant and play like some crazy heavy metal Slayer type stuff for the other plant and feed them the same amount of sunlight, water, all the YZ, and the differences are very noticeable. The YouTube videos, they're more like experiments you can do at home that it kind of show the same thing that you're talking about, where energy, just the energy in the room can be shown to have physical differences in things.
Yeah. When I was younger, I had a friend of mine who used to grow a shitload of hydroponics.
Oh,
I mean, his
what's tell him to follow me.
shoot, no, he's actually dead now. He got
Oh, I'm
killed,
sorry, man.
years ago. Um, he literally would play Mozart in his grow room. And because now, here's something else you guys should check out. And I don't even know how long we've been talking. I'm just fucking rambling.
An
Right?
hour and 36 minutes, but I was just gonna keep going until you said bye, so we could go for 4 hours. Until you say you gotta go, I'm just gonna keep talking to you, Ben. This has been too much fun, man.
Okay. Well, here, here's here's how they have messed with humans. Right? Prior to 1924 or something like that, there um, there's a or the old music like Beethoven and Brahms and all these famous conductors. Right? I don't remember what year they did this, but there there was a rhythm that was everyone used. It it was a frequency on the music charts or the music when you write it. There's certain frequencies you can write it in, right? The norm was at one level. It was like 7.33 or something, right? In the 1930s or 1940s, they altered that to what was called an off frequency. Humans' vibrations are, we are naturally aligned with nature's frequency,
Right. But
right?
for people listening, think of it like spiritual noise cancellation.
Yes, yes, right there. It's if you've ever done yoga or anything where you try and you find your center and you do that's you aligning your frequency with nature, and that's good. Well, they changed the frequency of popular music to an off frequency, which agitates the human consciousness. And they did that on purpose. That knowledge was learned out of the Illuminati scientific method as they learned about um, uh, the frequencies, because the frequencies were learned whenever they brought in radio. Right, the radio uh, initially we had Morse code. Right. Then we had the telegram and the telegraph and all that stuff. We have radio. Now we got TV. Now we got digital TV. All it is frequencies. That's all that is. Right. And and frequencies, humans are wickedly susceptible to frequencies. It's why we sleep good with rain, because rain is harmonically in line with earth and air. That's what rain is. It realigns the frequency of the environment.
That's why it's probably one of the most popular white noise, simulators.
Yep, rain will
Just the
put
sound
you.
will make you feel good. It almost has the same effect as listening to a popular song on the radio with an upbeat,
Yeah,
with
and
50 different instruments going. All you need is rain to get the same feel good.
absolutely, and it's it's why music can alter your mood. Or if you're in a mood already, you can amplify your mood.
Hmm.
If if you just, if you're at a party and you're looking to party, you're not putting on, uh, Celine Dion, the fucking Titanic song. You know, you're putting on some Rage Against the Machine, fuck some shit up music.
Facts.
You know, where and so once
Rage.
everything's energy, and we're reaching the point in technology where our technology is no longer based on petroleum. Let me explain. Right, more of our uh, more of our economy is created with pure digital and sold digitally
Hmm.
than ever before.
Yeah, digital
Right,
goods are actually selling higher price value than physical goods, like digital cars, like NFTs, like freaking crypto kitties, as opposed
bingo.
to actual house.
Right, more and more people are buying digital music. More and more people are buying video games they download off the internet. Now, what that does is it eliminates the CD. It eliminates the physical capture and distribution supply chain of a product. It's all digital. Boom. You buy it, you download it, you've got it. It is the transfer of value using digital. We've been moving toward fucking Bitcoin since the invention of the internet. It's because and anybody that doesn't believe me or goes Bitcoin's going to zero, chalk them up as dumbass people, and that's not bad. That's just who they are. They're dumbass people because they don't think critically. Right? Prior to the internet and email, you hand wrote letters. Dear Grandma, love you with all my fucking heart. All right. Now, mail that up, hand it to your mailman, put a fucking stamp on there that price jumped up every other month.
Unless you get a
Mail
forever
that,
stamp. That's
right?
that's the
Yeah,
only not scam in America is the fucking forever stamp, dude.
exactly.
Best investment you can make is a shit ton of those.
That's why they use
Until
that
Ben says
shit.
digital, right?
That's why they use stamps as currency in jails.
Yeah.
Right? Is because if you got a forever stamp and someone else has a fucking can of tuna, you have something worth more than that can of tuna. It's so it's what happened was you'd hand it to your mailman and drive it up there, use all the gasoline, drop it off, be mailed off to grandma. Grandma gets it in about a week and a half. Grandma opens it up and goes, "Oh, little Benny loves the pluck out of me. That's awesome." What what happened with Ethan? You erased the cost of the supply chain. Just wiped it away. The value of the message didn't change. Grandma still got the little warm and fuzzies. She just got it like that.
Yeah,
It,
we're changing supply chains, which is changing everything.
right. All it is changing human demand and human want. Humans, there is no value without a human valuing it in anything. All right. That's why supply and demand works. If you have a million
Yeah, I mean, even when it's dumb shit, look at the tulip bubble. I mean, supply. I mean, that worked because supply
the
and demand.
perfect examples, the fucking pet rock.
Oh, I love the pet rock. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, that's.
Who's who's the genius that came up with that fucking thing?
I don't know.
You don't even have
Somebody
to
in the
produce
chat
it.
Google that. Who? How much did they make for like the pet rock? Because that was the fidget spinner of my mom's time.
Oh, it was even better. You didn't have to make it. You walk out, say you own a bunch of land with a bunch of shitty fucking rocks on it, and then you fucking convince a group of kids that these rocks are the best thing since fucking sliced bread. Then they're buying your shitty rocks you got on your shitty land. All of a sudden, your land's worth a whole lot of money because you got these shitty rocks on it. That's what happened with gold during the time of the Iron Age. Is gold didn't become valuable until somebody convinced some dumb human that it was fucking valuable.
It's a shiny pet rock.
Right, it's a shiny fucking pet rock that happens to have a little bit of rarity. That, well, how rare is it? Well, fuck, I don't know. My brother found it over there. Well, if he fucking found it, how rare is it? It's what happened out in California, and New York, and England and London. The people that were living in America, most of them at that time, they came from Europe. Right? Europe is not rich with any. They got fucking nothing over there. They're half of them live on a fucking island. So they come over here, well, over here and over there because of historical precedents. Gold had value. All of a sudden, you get out to California, they're tripping over fucking gold. They're tripping over, and it's the gold rush. Oh, let's all go get gold.
You remember Beanie Babies?
Yeah,
exactly.
You know
how that scam became a thing?
Oh, I can only
imagine. Dude, it's beautiful. It's so well orchestrated, and it failed so epically. But basically, in a nutshell, the Beanie Baby craze started with a couple people, mainly this one woman, who decided to write her own like Kelly Blue Book value thing on Beanie Baby's value. And once she started getting subscribers and started selling her magazine, she would just start writing this. Well, she would look around and be like, "Oh, I have this Beanie Baby. This one's worth $2,000." And she would write it in her magazine, push it out, wait a little bit, and then sell the Beanie Baby that she wrote about. And the dude that made the Beanie Babies saw this and was like, "This is genius." He started releasing Beanie Babies, maybe like 600 Beanie Babies in Texas, 500 of the same Beanie Baby in New York, and then 10,000 or whatever the rest was from China or wherever he made them. He sent them to like Europe and told everybody in the U.S., we only got 1,000 of them here in the U.S. They're very rare. Meanwhile, they're everywhere in Europe. So it's like one of the best scams in history.
But it wasn't a scam. The people that bought those,
right?
Yeah. All right. If you go and you fucking buy up some, I don't know, let's use an example like
hand sanitizer,
toilet paper, or maybe a couple of tokens, maybe one of them called fucking, I don't know, like BitConnect, and you buy it. As soon as you make that choice to buy it, you didn't get scammed. You got convinced that it had value. That's the only difference, right?
Well, yeah, as long as you have it, you have it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
you've got it. Now,
It's a fair
if they
point.
said, "Hey, send me some money, and I'll send you a BitConnect token," and you sent them money, but they never sent you the token, then yeah, that's a scam. You didn't receive the product you were promised. Right? It's exactly like hex coin. I laugh at that all the time because it you have to give it to them.
Oh, he's
The
gonna get it.
dude,
He's gonna get it, and he's gonna get it from it. Too. He's going, dude. That dude's going to jail, bro.
I don't know, not because he didn't scam anybody.
I know, yeah, but scam or not, legal and illegal, right and wrong, they're not always similar.
That's true. Now, was it a security? Maybe. I don't know. I don't give a shit. I I think our security laws are just the government's way of choosing winners and losers.
Yeah, the
Oh yeah,
securities per the I guess the institution of securities is the scam itself. It's sort of an
yeah.
anomaly.
It's it's like the lady who wrote the actual book on fucking Beanie Babies, validating whether the Beanie Babies were really Beanie Babies.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, the ones that my buddy right here has, those are Beanie Babies. Those over there, I can't validate those. I can't. They may look like Beanie Babies, but I can't validate those.
Dude, another side tangent of this Beanie Baby bullshit, though, it actually started a secondary economy because people didn't want that little TY Beanie Baby badge, the tag on their
Yeah.
Beanie Baby to
Yeah.
get bent or broken. So other people started creating little cases to put the tag in to keep it safe, like your baseball card would go in. And then
Yeah.
people went one step farther and made a case to put the whole Beanie Baby in, and it created a whole economy from this.
Humans are stupid. That's it. It's it's literally but yet it works in the creative destruction method of Austrian economics.
But because of
Because
stupid people, that's why I fear the argument for the success of Bitcoin is because it's so great. It's better than the current XYZ. This is why. But superiority doesn't mean anything to people that are too intellectually inclined to comprehend the utility features. So like expecting dumb people to opt into utilizing smart shit doesn't really balance out, like especially when you think the majority of people are, unfortunately kind of stupid, and that's not
yes,
their fault. It's the educational system's fault. But like 70% of Americans, as we found out, maybe even more, didn't even have $500 to $1,000 in their savings account for this pandemic lockdown.
yeah. But see, there's an answer for that. There's an economic answer for that. Is that you create a model that makes economic stupidity. What you do is you create a user interface and don't rely on their intelligence, rely on their greed. Because greed is very, very smart, right? If you create, let's use an example like Lolly. If you create a system that's easy to use and will allow the stupid person to make a smart choice that's easy to execute, the stupid person will not rely on logic to use it. They'll rely on their own internal greed to use the easy interface that you've put in front of them.
Greed can also be a deterrent, though. We've seen, where it could be a backtrack or digression, set the future on fire just to keep things where we're at, like the lumber industry's ongoing war with cannabis, you know?
Well, see, greed Greed. There's where the definitions come in. There's a difference between selfishness and self-interest. That's right. Greed is only bad in a system where one side of the exchange has authority over the other. If you have a free trade that involves greed, greed's not a weapon. Greed is just a choice of the self-interest of the individual.
Right on.
Where if you have greed with authority, then you have a weapon. Then the greed can be used as an authority, or the authority can be used to actually leverage and reward the greed of one side.
We're starting to see that, I think, with Wall Street, where they're silently been accumulating this 500,000 Bitcoin.
They're not stupid. They're rich. Most rich people are not stupid. Most rich people understand the origination of value. And the origination of value is manipulatable. Because manipulation is just really good marketing.
Yeah, without the ability to manipulate, and we say manipulate, you say it with almost the stigma that it's only in a negative light. The ability to manipulate something isn't only negative. If I accidentally send too much money to you as a super chat, I could say, hey, Visa, I sent too much money to Google to Ben for a super chat. Can you send that back? And I can get a charge back. That's a positive utility of it.
Let me give you a simpler example. You walk into a club, you see a hot ass blonde. You go over there and you manipulate her into going on a date with you. 9 months later, you manipulate her into loving you. A year and a half later, you manipulate her into marrying you. And for the rest of your life, you manipulate each other to make each other happy.
Sounds like
is that good or bad manipulation? All right. It's the agenda, the intent of the individual that actually puts the negative or positive towards the word manipulate.
So this is where I think the government will leverage their ability to have a centralized ledger that they can manipulate, where they're going to highlight all the positives and kind of, and it's not even like it's a hidden fact at this point. It's almost just a desensitized common knowledge that, that they can do all these negative aspects of manipulation with centralized banking, and even as far as like things with PayPal freezing accounts because somebody put a memo in the transaction on PayPal and PayPal doesn't agree with what they said, whether it be political, religious, or just a joke, trolling, or sex work, whatever the case may be. So I think that may be the leg they might stand on for this FedNow digital dollar centralized ledger.
But no matter what they put out, it will have a price against Bitcoin. It's I don't, and Trump knows that. Every government knows it. Every currency, Bitcoin is the global currency right now, whether people want to admit it or not. Because you can purchase the Bitcoin with almost every currency in the world. That
and the infrastructure has been built. We have the infrastructure.
Right.
The off and on ramps have been cemented, and are they strong and established?
Exactly. And the technology makes it attractive for everybody in the environment to utilize it because it is trustless currency. And what the world is losing now is not value. We value oil. What we're losing now is the trust in the system to deliver the value. So we are moving towards a system called blockchain where no one has to trust anybody. It's programmed in to the code and it's trustless. And the flood of money, of value, don't think money, think value, purchasing power, that's going to go into Bitcoin as more and more of these trust issues happen is going to be unfucking believable.
Yeah, good luck doing trade with a closed centralized ledger. You know, when other countries and governments are doing trade with either the same common ledger or at least an open ledger of some aspect, whether you have to use an oracle or something to that aspect.
Yep.
Because I think we're going to see a lot of that, like, you know, how we saw a lot of altcoins pop up. We're going to see a lot of those government issue altcoins pop up until they either funnel into United Nations coin or Bitcoin. But I think they're going to,
Yep.
yeah.
And United Nations coin is going to fail against Bitcoin. And I'll tell you why. Because it's the same reason that I don't own many XRP. You know what it's going to take to fuck up XRP? One lawsuit against Ripple.
Yeah, I love Tone Bay's argument on that. As soon as Al Qaeda or somebody starts using XRP, it's done.
Yeah, or one large one fucking bank files one lawsuit. Remember, perception's reality, and they claim that Ripple, for whatever reason, their network or whatever, that something went wrong and they lost money. That's going to trickle into or ripple amongst the global.
That's good.
Because if you have a centralized entity, you have somebody to sue. And whether or not the lawsuit is just or unjust is irrelevant. Let whoever brings the lawsuit, let them sprinkle that shit with a little bit of emotion. Let them sprinkle that lawsuit with a couple of crying kids up against Ripple. Ripple in the public eye goes down. Soon as Ripple loses favor, Ripple's replaced.
Yeah. I think people don't understand the fact that Ripple has a face, a CEO, an establishment, a corporation, makes it so weak and vulnerable to a world adoption. When competing with Swift, you know, you have a lot going against you there. Where for less, they've sprinkled crack on many other industry ballers and made them disappear with either kitty porn in an email or some kind of other fucking random shit, you know, pops up and you're like, oh damn, I didn't know Ripple was like Pizzagate 2.0. Yeah, well, they kept competing with Swift. Maybe they just made it look like that, and you never know.
I mean, we cannot verify nor, friggin' deny that this person at Ripple clicked this link that happened to put some pictures on it.
Yeah, we saw XRP being used on a dark website. It looks like Silk Road 2.0, but it only uses XRP.
Yeah, and boy, they were all over RippleNet. I mean, I don't want to say that they're involved with anything, but man, there's a bit.
And imagine that on a global scale with government concerns, not just corporate
right.
ones.
It's as soon as you have a face, you've got a target. And Bitcoin don't even have a fucking face. Satoshi Nakamoto, group or individual, that shit was let out into the world on purpose. It's the virus that they knew they needed. That's why lately, and for a while now, I've actually been saying that the halving is a mathematical countdown. That's all the halving is.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I do think this is a really interesting question from Crypto Hefe. He's been in the chat, keeping it live with Amina and everybody, and Rick, I see you guys. But a truly decentralized crypto cannot be sued. Who would even try and bring to court? And my answer was miners or nodes or, I mean, Ben and me. Shit, people who publicly say they have it or talk. That's who they could
Yeah,
bring. They could try to demonize the users, and
yeah.
they've tried to attempt that
Uh,
before.
good. Yes, they could actually go after individuals who talk about Bitcoin or they talk about, Litecoin or whatever. But in a legal court of law, right? Number one, you have to prove harm.
You think they're gonna play fair, Ben? They're just gonna sprinkle that deep web Bitcoin into your Bitcoin donation address in your YouTube video description box, and say, "Hey Ben, how you get all this dirty Bitcoin? You know, we didn't give it to you or nothing, but we know where it came from. We know you got it.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, that's
and
I talk about financial terrorism a little bit here and there on some podcasts because I do worry about it. I think Vitalik attempted to make a valid point for using blockchain for this and having the miners or the nodes be targeted. Imagine, and that's where I worry about having the government actually get involved in Bitcoin, where we see a federal license to mine Bitcoin required. And
yeah,
in order to get the amount of electricity from a supplier, you're gonna have to get that permission from the government. Now you're a federal miner, and if you get caught mining without that, everyone goes to prison. Shut it
well,
down.
that 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 could work out that way if I'm going to use America as an example, right? If you live in a country full of retards, you're going to have a retarded government.
And this happens in China. I was waiting for you to say something where I could segue that, but it does happen in China, where all the miners are government owned.
Yeah,
The government owns everything.
and generationally, the Chinese people, although intelligent people, and I think it's no longer a choice, they're just trapped in a system that they can't escape now, is initially, and it's what's going on in America right now with the progressive movement. The early Chinese, uh, China was actually conquered by the Illuminati using drugs. It was called the Opium Wars. All right. They basically dumbed down the Chinese population enough where they could be invaded at leadership level, and the population was so fucked up they didn't even know what was going on. And then it just progressed and eventually led to the Red Revolution, Chairman Mao, the Red Army, which was mostly youth. That's why the progressive movement, if you notice, most of their warriors on the left are young people. Young people are led with emotion, especially how they've been brainwashed to memorize and not critically think. Right? Our education system, I've actually had several debates with friends of mine who have masters in like they're on paper, they're way smarter than me. In reality, they're dumb as fucking bricks. But they're my buddies. We're drinking beer, whatever. But I shut one of my friends down. And I had to do it kind of harshly because he was pushing. I said, look, brother, the difference between me and you is you got a piece of paper. You know what that piece of paper proves? That you can memorize and you can do time management. That's it. You can't think for shit. All right? That's why they give you a test at the end of the class. Did you memorize the bullshit that we just taught you? Yes. All right. Can you articulate the behind the education? You mean, can I show my work? Fuck no. All right. It's why history books, 90% of the fucking tests. What year was the Revolutionary War? 1776. Good job, you passed the test. Well, what the fuck was it about? I don't know. Something to do with tea?
Yeah, something to do with tea.
And these people are getting A's and B's when you're grading them about if they can remember four numbers.
I think quarantine has actually taught a lot of people that self-teaching their kids is actually a lot more beneficial to their children's education than the public schooling, whether it be socializing, which is like the biggest argument against homeschooling. How do your kids know how to socialize? They're going to be so antisocial and awkward. They're going to be doing most of their work on a fucking computer in a cubicle anyway, or at home, so it really doesn't matter. But like, I don't know. I just think it's like the whole common sense. Like I saw Jeff say, book smarts over common sense thing.
Right. I'll argue. Now, I'm not a big fan of the leadership of the YouTube Corporation, but I am a damn advocate for the infrastructure and the utility of YouTube. Right? YouTube has educated more people on what they've wanted to be educated on than anything ever in history. YouTube is, if you want to learn the DNA structure of a fucking hummingbird, you can find out on YouTube.
As long as it fits their agenda.
Right. That's why I say I don't like the leadership. I like the structure, because you can educate yourself about what you're passionate about. And this is a plug for my Patreon, right? On my Patreon, I have been pushing educating yourself on blockchain technology. Worked out a deal with Ivan on tech with his
all like 30%, right?
Yeah.
Respect, man.
Because in the future, dude, blockchain's gonna be the next wave of fucking, if you want to make a bunch of money, learn how to code on fucking Ethereum, learn how to code on EOS, learn how to code on any programming language, Java, basic attention token,
right,
shit like that.
Make your own ERC token, create your own shitcoin. Go for it.
Right. And
make an NFT, Ben.
Yeah, no shit. And this is the key. This is what I want people to understand. The whole world doesn't have to love your product. Just enough to make some money. All right? If you value a product, I guarantee there's someone else who values that product. And you make that product or that service as entertaining or profitable or enjoyable or help them with an issue as possible and charge a reasonable amount for your services or product. And guess what? You can make a company that sells shit rocks to a bunch of shit fucking kids who value and play and get joy out of that fucking rock that you just sent them.
Right. You start an Etsy page, start a what is it, Fiverr? You know,
Yeah,
you can do all this with crypto and blockchain. I think Latium's a pretty cool one, sort of like a crypto Fiverr.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think it would be cool for people to get out there and just play around with making their own things just for the fun and the learning experience behind it, you know, and realize, you know, when somebody comes out with their own ICO or STO, like, oh, I created a coin, like, yeah, so did I, bro. It was quarantine. It took me a day.
yeah. And I guarantee the guys who uh, made crypto kitties had no fucking idea it would go as nuts as it did.
None.
They're just like, hey, let's make some fucking cats, man. Yeah, let's do that. I guarantee somebody was fucking tripping balls when they came up with that fucking
I
idea.
met some of the team, and I wouldn't put it past them. They're amazing. I love them. They're
Oh,
great.
it, and dude, if that's what the technology, if that's how early we are, that we're basically fucking making pet rocks with blockchain, hey, if there's a market for pet rocks for blockchains, sell the shit out of it. You know, I was a truck driver. And what I did, all I did, this is not fucking rocket science, is I succeeded and I failed every day until I made it to a point where my successes outweighed my failure. And then I could make the transition where my old income was replaced with enough new income that me and my wife felt comfortable that I could quit my job and make money with my videos and consulting and all that. And there's nothing wrong with making money because the only way you make money is if you give someone else happiness or you solve a problem for them. Nobody's going to give you money just because you come up with an idea. They may not value it, but somebody else might. And then you just wash, rinse, repeat. That improve yourself every day and improve your product. Work hard at what you are. And the reason that I think I'm successful and I've been able to do this is because I love what I do. I don't have to get on here and ramble for 2.5 hours.
I so love you. I was waiting for you to get to that.
I I didn't ramble with Ken for 2.5 hours because I'm getting paid by the hour. I'm not getting paid at all right now. You know why I'm doing it? Because fuck, dude, this is fucking fun.
And we have the ability to, and I think this is a good segue for me to get into this topic of deplatformation or deplatforming that's been happening. You know, recently Tone Vase for a brief moment lost his YouTube channel, and then BTC Sessions, my buddy Ben from Canada, lost his
He's
YouTube
cool.
channel. Ivan on Tech doesn't even use YouTube for live streaming anymore. He does it right from his own website because he doesn't trust them enough to host his content. And going from our favorite truck driving Bitcoiner to the all in guy you are now, making the content on YouTube, do you worry about the potential to be deplatformed?
Nope.
Are you hedging your content? Are you on BitTube and Library and stuff?
Nope. And I'll tell you why. Because I know the legal structure of YouTube. I know the legal structure and the the YouTube contractual membership bylaws. See, people are they're trying to outdo YouTube. That may happen in the future. But remember, YouTube's software. Anything that any other software can do, YouTube can do. They just have to upgrade. What they do have is they have the community. Now, the difference between I've never gotten a strike, I've never gotten banned. I've had some algorithmic kind of fucking with my channel a little bit, but
like shadow banning or something.
Yeah, well, there's ways inside to outsmart the algorithms. Right? What I've done is I'm not trying to outsmart YouTube, or I'm not hiding from YouTube and or anything like that. But what I do know, and what maybe these other guys don't know, and I made a video about this a while ago, is you're using a free service to put your content on. Right? Every YouTuber should join at a membership level in YouTube. Well, when I bring that up, people are like, I'm not paying for YouTube. Fuck them, man. Fuck the man. Fuck the man. Fuck the man. You know that no contract is a legal contract if there's no exchange of value. If you join as a paid member of YouTube, that membership, that exchange of value creates a legal membership structure that grants you federal rights, local rights, and inter-binary law rights.
Well, I hate YouTube, but I do pay for their premium service.
Right?
I'm pretty sure I joined your subscription, so I am a paid member to YouTube because I'm subscribed to your YouTube.
Have you ever gotten kicked off or had your channel fucked with?
Once, yeah.
Once. What was it?
I uploaded a video back in New York City when I called that guy out for being a scammer, Sean Kurtz. Not that York Mulk guy in Vegas, but before that, the other scammer I called out. I posted a video on YouTube, and they hit me with a whole bunch of... I got hit with like a lot of strikes and stuff. It was bad. They deleted everything, and they told me I was screwed. And I just kept begging and pleading with them through emails. But basically, it was because he kept calling me derogatory terms and stuff like that, and kept, insulting. And it came off as cyberbullying, harassment, terroristic threats and stuff in a video. And
yeah.
I don't think they understood I was the victim in the video, not the person saying this is great, this is good, but like this is what happened to me, this is awareness. So like they kind of gave me back my channel.
Those are in the actual bylaws. Now, if you are a paid member, that's why they've only messed with that one video.
Right.
Now you may have went through hell, but as a paid member, and I've said this on several videos that had some pretty controversial shit in them. YouTube, I dare you to take down my channel. I dare you to send me a strike, because as a paid member, if they send you a strike as a paid member, you have the right to request the bylaw in writing that you broke to receive that strike. Now, if you're not a paid member, if you're just uploading content, you're legally not a member. Because you never purchased a membership. It's the difference between a credit union and a bank. Right? A bank owns your money. A credit union, you own your money. You know why? Because each dollar represents one share in the union. You have membership rights in that union.
Interesting.
It's all about laws. Don't hate the player, hate the system, and don't play the game, play the system.
Right.
And I, because of research and conversation and other things in my past, I understand membership bylaws and membership federal laws. It's why unions exist. Unions give power to the individual member legally against corporations outside of the union.
Yeah, but then corporations have the power to make it impossible to unionize. Hence, fucking Walmart and fucking Amazon.
Well, the only way they have power is if they make their workplace pleasurable enough to not unionize. It doesn't have.
Opposite.
Well, no. If they did, then the employees would unionize.
Well, they try, then they get fired for not going into work because they're protesting, and because we're in the world's largest unemployment period in history, it's really easy to replace your very unhappy employees with people that are very much more likely to grovel at the teat for at least a little while until you rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I mean, and yes, Walmart has the right to actually fire at will.
Yep.
It's that is the war of freedom.
That's why
Is
I knew you were going to say that, and that's why I say freedom doesn't exist. Permissionlessness can, but true freedom, it's a farce. It doesn't exist. It's not a reality. Freedom is a fairy tale people want to exist, but freedom is only for you. And the moment your freedom is out there in the world, it is imposing on other people's freedom. It's hypocritical. Freedom is hypocritical in nature, but permissionlessness, that is what freedom really means.
That is why he said, "Give me liberty or give me death," and he did not say freedom. Liberty is the absence of a threatening entity inside of your environment. If there's no entity that has the authority, perceived or real, in your environment, you have what's called liberty.
And this is why Trump is proposing some cities and states liberate themselves from their senators and their governors.
That's why he's not talking about free speech. That's why he's not talking. He says, remember how Trump talks? Liberate. That's on purpose, because liberty is the individual existence without the threat of an authoritative entity. That is liberty. Freedom is relative.
Right.
If you're in a cell for 8 hours or 16 hours a day, and they let you out into the yard for 4 hours a day, are you freer out in the yard than you are in the cell? You could say yes.
Maybe, depends. Maybe everybody doesn't want me to do what I do out in the yard, but I can do it in my cell, and I feel more free in my cell than I do in the yard.
Right. Freedom is relative, whereas liberty is a state of existence. Freedom is is in your head. Liberty is the environment in which you exist. That's the difference of freedom and liberty. You don't want freedom. You want liberty.
And that's what cryptocurrencies is giving people. And I think it's the verbiage that's misleading. And I've said this a million times before. It's such a nuanced industry, and it's not even an industry. That's how nuanced it is, honestly, that we don't have the right vernaculars to, reiterate or verbiage, what we need to say to get people to understand what's happening, and we mislead with saying, be your own bank. Well, why the fuck would I want to be my own bank? Banks fucking suck. Why would I want to do that? It's like, it's not, this isn't free. It's Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is liberation. That's what it is. The blockchain is liberty in technological form.
Absolutely. And the level of education is determined by the person needing to be educated. It's some people see that side, which you can't really see. Well, be your own bank. And that resonates with them. They're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want to be my own bank. Well, that right there is just a slogan. It's a bumper. It's a fucking bumper sticker on the wall. Now, excuse me.
Well, we can go farther to the miscommunications where we have like the terminologies wallet. Like that throws people off right out the bat, and I think that's because we're grasping something so ancestral. It's like, our ancestors. Wallet. We've always had my mom's mom, my dad's dad. Everybody threw a wallet for their currency, and we say, well, here's your wallet, and it's something so different that I think we have to come up with our own vernaculars, our own terminologies for our own economy instead of trying to link it back. Saying Bitcoin is digital gold, I have such an argument with that. I fucking hate saying Bitcoin's digital gold because it's actually an insult to Bitcoin.
Absolutely. But see where we're at right now, we're so early that we're so early in Bitcoin that we don't even have a accurate, or we don't have the words that describe what it is yet, and the actions that can happen inside of this economy. It's why we got HODL.
Yeah.
HODL.
World's most known typo.
Right. It's something that has a pinky in the old world, but yet has 4 fingers in the new world.
Or is it 3 fingers and a thumb, Ben?
Yeah.
I was waiting for somebody in the chat.
Right. It's so using the term wallet was actually ingenious because language evolves, meanings evolve with generations. Right? It's kind of like every generation alters a few words of the old generation to kind of separate themselves from generations. It's like the word like blunt. You ask a grandmother what blunt means, and she's like, it's when you're almost rude, but you're factual. Well, you ask a young, hey man, what's up with the blunt? And they're like, fire that shit up.
Right, that's why we can take almost every word in our language here and trace it back to like a Latin, inspiration.
Right. Most of the English language is actually just an evolution of slang. It's because most of the people that came over to America, they spoke in Irish slang.
Yeah, America is
And
the world's like hillbilly.
oh, absolutely. Uh, that's why the people over in Europe, uh,
Oh, they hate when we say we speak English. They're like, not our
no,
English. You don't speak
no,
English. I
you
don't know
don't
what that
speak the
is.
Queen's English,
Right, I don't know
you
what
know.
English you're speaking, but it ain't English.
Right. It's we are a hodgepodge, and if you see it, what's I'm going to use an example that is probably the word that has gotten me in the most trouble all of my life. All right, the N word. The N word is evolving generationally. My daughter and her friends are about as cracker as you can fucking get. But yet, when they're around their friends, their black friends, their white friends, it don't matter. They're all throwing around the N word. And ain't nobody offended by nothing. They're all like, man, that's right. That's my shit. That's my shit. Man, and that nobody's offended.
I feel
You
like
get,
it's because of the political correctness combining like within a storm event with media perpetuation, normalization, right? Where media
yeah.
is trying to normalize it, where you have the political side of it, not the media side, but the political side reviewing it and giving their opinion of it and trying to perpetuate that as the agenda, right? But it's
Well,
normalizing. Uh,
actually,
like I say, there's it could be is it less heartstringing example is like the rainbow. When I was growing up, that shit was like leprechauns. It was St. Patty's Day.
yeah,
Rainbow was like, hey, there's gold at the end of that. A kid today, ask him what the rainbow means. He's like, gay pride, most likely.
yeah, but there's a difference there. The difference is in the community. And the real credit of the N word losing its offensiveness, therefore its power to hurt people, is actually resides in the youth of the African Americans because they're they're allowing without any you know harsh or like that, they're giving that word to their friends out of love, out of, like, hey, them in there, like all singing and dancing. Their black friends could go, hey, I don't like you using that word. But the youth, the black youth, they're out of love and out of like peace and out of showing of friendship is like, look, it's just a word. We're changing the definition. We're changing it so you guys can use it too. They are lifting the power out of the word and giving it to their friends. They're like, I love you so much that my love for you overwhelms any power that this word ever had.
How do
Because
words
they're
words are powerful? How do we? How's that like something that can be done when we still have issues with just a taboo word as fuck? You know, like it's still censored.
because
You throw the F word into a movie, it goes from PG to R. It's words are.
we we we're evolving where there's no ownership of words anymore. It's why on modern day television they're saying shit, slipping in fuck, because the older generation that use that control of language to control the next generation. You know, they didn't want you to not say fuck. They wanted you to not talk about what fucking was.
They tried that with Bitcoin too. Very early into
Yeah.
its inception, when you said Bitcoin, it was so closely correlated with crime and drugs and
Ooh.
criminal activities that the moment you said the word, that was the idea. That was the digestion of the conversation. Was like, oh, this is going to be, and that would be a turnoff from just the way the media perpetuated this word Bitcoin. Well, it means criminal.
Yep. All right. Hey, I got to go. We've only been on here for almost 3 hours,
It's
bro.
only been 3 hours, Ben. I mean, Jeebus, bro. I appreciate the crap out of you, man.
Typical guy. Can't last long.
My hair was I was bald when this started.
Hey, that's all right. I'm still
oh
going.
oh wow, yo, you're feeling the celebrity barber woes, huh?
Oh, no. This is actually me in hippie phase.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm going to be shaving this shit down. All right. Because there's parts of my head that hair doesn't grow, and there's parts that it does.
Could you pull
And
off a
when I,
mullet? Would it grow?
I could pull up long hair in the back.
Yeah,
The
it's a
top,
mullet. That's a mullet. You gotta bring it
yeah,
back.
but there ain't no party up. There ain't no party in the front.
I mean, you could just do the rat tail. Just
Uh,
have a little piece and let it grow.
oh, dude, fucking braid that shit up,
Yes.
dude.
See.
Swing that shit. We go roller skating.
I love that he said roller skating, and that's just a correlation to a rat tail. So if you roller skate, you probably have a rat tail. I love that that's in the same
Dude,
boat.
back when I was young, I can't tell you how many of my friends at the roller skating rink had fucking rat tails. We were all Southside Hoosiers.
Dude,
And
I thought it was cool because of Steven Seagal. He had one and he would fuck people up with it and shit.
yeah, but his wasn't a rat tail. His was actually like a braid, wasn't it? Like a full
Kind of,
braid.
yeah, yeah.
No, I'm talking the skinny Hoosier rat tail. I mean, that thing was like the same size the whole
Yeah.
way down with like a little rubber band on the end. That was a rat tail where I came from. And I'll tell you, rat tail meant you either lived on a road named Broadway or you lived near a road named Broadway. Because that's where the Hoosier, the like I guarantee a family members is a hooker, fucking environment. And hey, dude, I party with the fucking lowlifes. They know how to party.
Right, bro? I'm from Kensington. I'm born and raised from, Kensington. So if people know their geographics, they know that that's where partiers are born and bred, man. All right, big shout out to Crypto, Hefe, Rick Costa, Amina, DJ Me Popsicle, everybody here in the chat. Super Consensus. I saw Satoshi TV and a bunch of people. Brian, thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. Ben, dude, I'd say let's do this again soon, but yeah, 3 hours, man. Thank you. Appreciate your time, dude.
Tell you what, next time we'll do it on my channel. And dude, we'll just choose a day. And the title's going to be High on Lunch. And it's just going to be you and me. You fucking fire. Let's do it on a Friday. Because you smoke, I'll drink by the end of it. I'll be drunk as fuck. You'll be passed out.
Inebriated podcast. I am down.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Blunts and beer.
That's a good one. Blunts and beer.
There we go, baby. Blunts and beer.
This is if anybody's watching, man, this is the preferred blunt of the professionals. Just in case you were out there looking around saying, well, I wonder what Ken smokes. That's what Ken smokes. All right, Ben, I'll see you. Yeah, hit me up on your channel. Oh, and I have homework for everybody because I thought it would be really funny. We were talking about stuff earlier that made me think of this. I don't know, maybe Ben has watched this, but just Google the word Lucifer experiment or like the true human history documentary. It's like an hour long. Dude, just watch the damn documentary or just Google the Lucifer experiment and dive down that rabbit hole and just get woke on that and then come back to me and hit me up in my DMs. We could talk about that all day. All right, guys, I'm out of here. DJ Me Popsicle, my bro. All right, everybody, go check out Bitcoin Ben on YouTube and his Patreon. Big shout out to the sponsors, Monarch Token, CoinFlip.tech, and CryptoMining.tools. Thank you to all of them, guys, and everybody tuning in. Have a day. We're out.